Rage bait or mental retardation. This is a great quote and a question that's been in my head the whole time after reading my latest video's comments. For those who aren't up to date, I released a SCP SL comparison video where I compared many core gameplay features and aesthetics from 2018 to 2025. Now, I was aware that I was gonna fish in many mindless haters of SL alongside some glazers of old SL with this title, and that's partially the reason I named it like that. I was really curious how effective this will be, but oh my, some of these comments. Like, I literally don't know if these are a joke or is this community just really cooked. So today we will be covering many of these dumb comments as well as answering controversial questions like, is old SCP SL more scary, is the current SCP SL combat system more tryhard friendly, and were the SCP stronger and better before they got their one-tap ability removed. Anyways, let's get right into it. Firstly, we have this great comment thread. I personally really liked how terrifying it was back then. It was way more scary, partly because it was still new and there wasn't really a meta and SCPs were a much bigger threat. Okay, I can agree that the game back then was in some ways more scary. Its two main horror elements are horror stingers and dark lightning, which sure do work when you just start playing the game, but are in reality a really shallow design. Like, no matter are you in a kindergarten or inside an SCP facility. If you can't see anything, of course that's gonna be pretty scary since you don't know what you may encounter. And when you do encounter a really terrifying catch-up dog, and loud weird sound will happen. Well, let's say you play 10 rounds of SCP SL, eventually you're gonna get used to the dark or you'll just turn up your brightness if you want to have an advantage against everybody. And you'll also get used to the loud scary sound because you heard it 200 times already. So let me get this straight, the main horror elements of a game are those that you get used to and that get repetitive really fast in a game that's meant to be played repetitively. Do you guys see how stupid that in reality is? And I would say the biggest proof of this is that people straight up forgot about stingers until somebody made a video about them. Now sure, I can agree that sometimes bad features can be better than no features, but it's also just straight up a lie that the current SL doesn't have any horror elements. They are just designed in a different way and in my opinion are much less likely to get repetitive really fast, or at the very least less fast than the previous horror elements. A great example is SCP-99 and SCP-173. The old 99 is literally just a human with a melee attack. Like all a 99 can do is walk slower and be silent, which is what humans do. It can run faster but produce footsteps, which is what humans do. It can talk, which is well obviously what humans do, which is funny because 99 in the lore doesn't actually talk, they imitate the sounds of their latest victims to lure new ones in. And the main terrifying attack of this 99 is that he can press left click and bite away half of your HP. That is, if he can never catch up to you since you both have infinite stamina and run basically at the same speed. Whilst the whole facility is filled with 100 doors you can close to slow him down or confuse him. Or you know, as a superior human you can shoot and kill him from the distance whilst he has to get close to you and bite you. Anyways, putting aside this dogshit 99 design, let's talk about how the current 99 not only stays true to the strengths and abilities of a lore accurate 99, but also how it contributes to the horror of SCP SL. This 99 is either that silent or runs like a dinosaur, which allows her to very fastly catch up to you. This is by itself pretty terrifying, however it can also put down an amnesia pool which makes you schizophrenic. You start hearing voices, you can't use your inventory properly, and the worst part is that the 99 is invisible when you're in this pool. Now I don't know about you, but whenever I start hearing the sound of these voices, I'm like, ah hell no, I instantly U-turn reverse the way I came from. Because well, what do I know, the 99 could be right there waiting to destroy me, and I'm pretty sure even the most experienced players feel this way. It's a massive risk to go through this pool as almost no item or skill can save you when this reptile one-shot jumps on you. 99's jump ability is itself a horror element, as when you have a 99 in your round, you will become paranoid of suspiciously closed doors or sharp corners. The Mimicry menu is also a horror upgrade, as the previous 99 could only use his own voice to talk, which considering many people don't have a mic or have an annoying voice that's easily recognizable meant that only served as a shit talking function instead of actually trying to lure enemies in. I remember it was literally a rule of thumb to never open the 914 gate when somebody says, I don't have a card, please let me in. Like that knowledge was as common as parents telling kids to not take candy from strangers. But the current 99 can not only use the voices of people who are friends of the human to trick them, it can also imitate many other sounds to scare the enemy or force them to get out. A great example is the 106 sound. If people hear 106, they always open the gate and run for their life, as 106 can obviously go through any door. However, funny plot twist, there's no 106 and they get chopped up by the 99. This can often trick even the most experienced of players, but you can also for example use the sound of chaos footsteps to scare out scientists or MTF that are hiding, as they'll want to run or get a better position to fight. And this is exactly what 99 should be lore-wise, while also significantly adding to the horror of the game. The amnesia has scary sounds, the jump will literally FNAF jump scare you, and the Mimicry menu can catch you off guard or make you laugh your ass off if the 99 is goofing around.
Give me this. Oh, what's that fucking...
Okay, that's crazy.
What is that moan? Give me this.
because in fact you can still very much goof around in modern SL. Next we have SCP-173, who went from looking like a classic friendly peanut to this thing. Now right off the bat, I'm pretty sure we can all agree that this guy is so iconic and looks like this in so many games, he is not scary whatsoever. Anyways, the main thing I wanna focus on the 173 change is how the current 173 is much scarier due to its unpredictability and subtle horror sounds compared to the old 173 with horror stingers. In old SL you just see this guy, hear the loud sound and keep backing away until you lose him or die. He moves a really small distance at an always equal pace, which means that after a few encounters with him you're gonna know how to avoid him really well. It's basically like the immortal snail question. He's gonna be on your ass for quite some time, but if you just look at him and walk backwards, there's nothing he can do without help. The current 173 not only has a better, more scary scraping sound which makes me start praying every time I'm hiding, but he actually has his very own horror ambience when you see him. Do you hear that? That's horror spooky sound, but instead of it being a one-time boom, it's there constantly and tries to crawl under your skin when you're facing this thing. But to make it worse, this SCP is actually unpredictable as fuck. Unlike the old 173 that always teleports the same, this one can teleport wherever he wants. Or even worse, use his breakneck speed's ability to catch up to you instantly and force you to change your route unless you want to die. But to make things even more fucked up, every time he moves he makes this sound. Let me tell you, there's nothing more scary than hearing this sound but not seeing the 173. With his breakneck ability, he can very often teleport behind you and you'll be dead before you even get a chance to react. Now this is, in my opinion, yet another great example of an SCP who by being reworked became more fun for gameplay whilst adding to the horror of the game. Like, even as an experienced player, when I hear 173's ambience playing whilst he's chasing me, I'm in fear of my life. You can't really juke this 173 unless he's retarded. I know I can't run or hide forever, and I know that my weapon is completely powerless against him as he has a shit ton of Hume Shield and HP. And speaking of Hume Shield, it's also important to point out how essential it was in making SCP stronger and scarier. The old SCPs, whilst being slow, were also extremely vulnerable to any damage to a point they often could just straight up not afford to chase people as they lose half of their HP to kill two guys. A solo facility guard or a class D should be the victim of something like an SCP and not its bully who can permanently damage him whilst infinitely running away. The current SCPs can now brush off damage from peasant solo humans and hand them down without any fear, which will add to the fear factor of humans. I've seen many people in the comments say, but oh, many SCPs can no longer one-tap, they are so weak and non-scary, and that's just straight up a stupid claim. It is true that SCP-049, 106 and 096 can no longer one-tap, but they all have reasons for it. 049, besides having more HP and a shield, has an ability that makes him much faster and actually able to catch up to victims. Unlike in old SL where he slow as shit, was being able to be heard 3 rooms away. Not to mention, his zombies are insanely stronger compared to before and can even be revived 2 times. Also, it's not like a close encounter with 049 means you'll survive. His one touch increases your stamina consumption 3 times whilst completely cooking your screen and taking your HP very fast. And 049 will land a second hit, instantly killing you in 90% of scenarios unless you have a strong item like SCP-500 or get very lucky. Oh yeah, did I mention that 049 also has a mini horror chase team when using his ability? 106 is a similar story. His attack deals instant damage to you plus passive damage that will kill you unless you have healing. It also pauses your stamina regeneration. If you're not full HP, his attack can very often insta-kill you. The old 106 was slow and his only purpose was being a bullet sponge for the SCP team. Sure, it is a bit scary when an SCP can survive a lot of damage, but in reality that damage still very fastly stacks up to him as he has no Hume Shield, which forces him to play like a pussy, and it's really stupid when a Keter class SCP, especially one as infamous as 106, has to be afraid of humans and careful how he fights them. Not to mention, his sinkhole ability is extremely useless and you'll have to rely on it to protect your chamber because humans can also just insta-kill you if they upgrade their card in 914 and sacrifice a class D. The current 106 can not only teleport around the map to suddenly cut off your route and jump scare you, but he can also stalk you through the floor and emerge on you when you expect it the least. Did I mention that 106 also utilizes sound to produce horror? When you hear the sound of a sinkhole, you know you gotta start running for your life or else you're cooked because 106 is actually fast as fuck upon emerging. This has actually caused me to get jump scared by items falling from his dimension until I learned the difference between the sound of them and 106. His dimension is also visually and ambiently far more pretty but scary. It's important to know that this pocket dimension is an actual threat now as your survival depends entirely on luck. Whilst before you could always know where's the exit through multiple tricks like staring at the lines in the ceiling or just looking at which entrance doesn't have a body. SCP, and this made 106 much less of a threat and much less scary even with his one-shot attack, because well, you know that you have very high odds of escaping and surviving. I remember that people will run to 106 to touch them as they had insanely better odds in his pocket dimension compared to the SCP-096 or 173 that were in the room, and when you escape you get a safe landing into a random room and can just go on with your life with the items you looted from the dimension. Surely I don't have to explain how running towards a Keter class SCP like 106 for him to save your life is a terrible gameplay and SCP design. However, with the current 106, not only are the exits completely randomized, but you cannot be sent to the pocket dimension twice and will just die instantly if 106 touches you ever again. This makes 106 a much bigger threat as he can pop up from the floor at any moment and kill you. Not to mention that after escaping your character is traumatized, which causes him to have a grey vision and a heartbeat sound that increases the closer 106 gets to you. Which is well another horror audio addition. This is without mentioning that 106 also now breathes like Darth Vader. Anyways, I'm sick of talking about the SCPs and their abilities, but I hope this makes at least some of y'all understand that by reworking the SCPs, not only have they improved their gameplay, but also introduced various unique horror aspects instead of relying on one loud sound. Plus they made them a much bigger threat and able to stand their ground even if they can no longer one-shot. And it's also pretty funny that some people are extremely pissed that Northrop hasn't added a new playable SCP, whilst in fact they did add 2 new ones. Not say the completely reworks of the old SCP's models and abilities can count as a new SCP itself, but oh well. So yeah, almost everything here is just straight up false, and it's funny that the reply is also completely false as well. The thing is, old SCP SL was so chaotic that there physically could not be any meta. Old game was more of a rock paper scissors, but now it's just tryhard junk. It's literally a straight up lie that the old SL was more chaotic. There was an extremely limited selection of SCP items and none of them really caused chaos. Unlike the current SL where there's all kinds of things from exploding colas to a stick that allows you to supersonic charge into an enemy. Like I just explained, old SCPs are much slower and weaker compared to today's SCPs, which are literally more chaotic in every aspect. Like how is a slow S106 more chaotic than the one who can teleport anywhere? Literally every single SCP became more chaotic. Hell, 173 can even shit on the floor. Back then there was also less respawn waves, meaning less people, aka less chaos. So to say that old SL was more chaotic is just straight up false. Equally false as saying there could not be any meta, as there in fact was a meta. Since nobody was able to say shit due to zero lightning, tryhards will increase their brightness to 100 and sometimes use third-party softwares to additionally increase their brightness. This gave them an insane advantage over enemies and they could almost always take out large groups of enemies before they even saw them. Combine this with the fact that old SL had much less facility layouts, which meant the tryhards will memorize this and will always be able to kill as many enemies as they want in certain spots of the facility. Not to mention that old heavy is literally built like a battle royale arena and who wins a fight always depended on skill. Whilst in the new heavy, besides the layouts being practically impossible to memorize, you can also play more casually and use props as cover to catch tryhard enemies off guard. The SCPs aren't much of a threat neither, as he can just infinitely run away from them and close the doors with his superior movement. So this means that if you wanted to have any chance against the tryhard, you will need to crack your brightness up, which then removes your beloved horror aspect of not being able to see anything. This goes without mentioning how the weapons were designed in a way that easily allows you to kill multiple enemies without any downside. Tryhards could just use a Logister that has an insane fire rate plus damage, which allows them with their superior headshot aiming to wipe groups of enemies even at close range. And at long range he could just use extremely fast firing snipers on enemies that can't even see him. I genuinely don't see a universe where old SL is not by far more tryhard friendly compared to the current SL. But hold on, I'm not done. Due to this issue of people abusing lights to have an advantage over others is literally the reason North changed the lightning, so everybody could have an equal chance at not getting demolished, and also because many people actually dislike not being able to see anything, or also not being able to tell apart chaos or MTF in hallways because their models are extremely similar. This issue was especially present amongst colorblind people, which yes, actually exists. This lightning change unfortunately got rid of the super scary aspect of not being able to see anything, which angered apparently many people even though nobody really mentioned it until almost 3 years after the update came out. Anyway, speaking of the combat system, it was also changed to insanely nerfed tryhards, but people are somehow claiming that it's making the game more sweaty / tryhard friendly, which is literally the most stupid thing I've ever heard. So let's say we have one class D with 1000 hordes on the game versus 3 MTF. Now let's firstly count in the existence of armor. If we want to have one scary SCP game, we can't have a class D playing like Matrix characters and destroying professional containment soldiers. So right off the bat, a tryhard class D with light or zero armor, despite having better aim or movement, will not stand a chance against 3 armored MTF, even if the MTF are noobs and miss half of their shots. Next up, we need to factor in that this tryhard class D has a higher chance of killing the MTF if he can utilize his sweaty movement and good aim against the MTF with mid aim who stand stand still. Old SL is literally built in a way that moving fast and destroying enemies with zero recoil is the core of the game's combat system. Because like, why would you wanna stand still and aim when you can have equally perfect aim whilst jumping around left and right? In the current SL, not only will you be slowed down due to the weight of your armor and weapon, but you're also gonna be way less likely to hit enemies. On the other hand, the MTF with mid-aim can just have minimal/basic movement and mech dump you with zero issues. The rework of shooting in SL literally full on punishes people who sweat and try to take on large groups themselves. But it also rewards people who wanna be more slow paced when fighting and don't wanna jump around whilst aiming for the enemy's head with zero recoil every time you have one fight. So can somebody please explain to me how the current SL combat that was changed to be more realistic whilst also being more simple and forcing you to be slower due to weight and recoil is considered better for tryhards, whose success by the way is based on abusing the zero recoil of weapons alongside the zero gravity movement. Sure, the current combat system is not completely tryhard immune as you can neglect a good amount of recoil with laser sights, but even then it's 100 times better than the old SL combat system. Anyways, let's browse some more really intellectual comments. New Nuke Room is a great example of how less diverse and honestly dumb the room design is getting. They're trying to purge any camping spot like it's the worst thing ever, turning every room fair. So with each patch there's less and less ways to outplay your opponents by anything other than mechanical skill, thus continuing to reward the sweaty tryhards in any way possible. Okay, is this a joke? Like, are you guys reading what I'm reading? This guy is saying that the revoked Nuke Room has a less diverse and more dumb nuke design. Now, I'm not like a massive fan of the new Nuke Room, but to say its design is stupid or generic is just straight up false. It's literally characteristic for SCP games elevators to just be a one-way random small room, which well obviously just sucked. By reworking the current nuke, not only did we get never before seen elevators that you can climb on top of, but you can also go through vents, jump on boxes, or just stare at this fat ass warhead that's chilling above you. This literally made it one of the most unique rooms this game has ever had, but it also got rid of the insane camping problem the old nuke had. Now I went over this in detail in the previous video, but the old nuke room was the most camper friendly thing to ever exist. And let's be real, I don't think 90% of campers are brand new players that just decided to wipe waves of humans in this random spot. No, it's always tryhards that abuse these bad mechanics or designs. No beginner player or a player that wants to have fun will perfectly time grenades at elevators or climb into weird spots to kill enemies. So yeah, the current nuke room is better in literally every way, and this comment, just get the fuck out of here, man. Get out! And wow, now we even have a Patreon complaint. The whole Patreon thing is a problem of its own. Charging people for info of what's to come in the future is not a good way of funding a project like SCP SL. A good way to counter this is simply to put a price tag on the game. A price like $15 to $20 is a reasonable price for a game like SCP SL. And to be honest, I will be willing to buy it again, even if I already have it for free, if it means getting rid of this terrible way to give info. Now, can you please explain to me how paying $20 for a game is better than the game being free? Like, maybe I could agree if the game had annoying microtransactions or cosmetics, but no, SCP SL just has straight up none of that. However, if you like this game that you played for free, then you can choose to support its indie developers with as little as $5 a month and learn about the features they will add next or get special sneak peeks. I really don't think there could be a more ideal monetization model than this, especially for a multiplayer horror game. You know, not everybody has $20 to spend on a game, but yeah, if you have 1 gram of common sense, I really don't think I need to further explain how stupid this comment is. If you care about balance so much, then just play competitive games. SL was never meant to be a competitive game. Also, the new Lightning doesn't even compare to the old one in terms of horror. First of all, when did I ever say I care about balance? Like what, did you get that impression after I complained that 079 could lock a door on you for multiple minutes, or because I think the old nuke room sucks because tryhards could abuse it? The truth is that a game like SCP SL cannot be balanced. Why? Because it has fucking immortal monsters in it. A game cannot be balanced if you have a squad of 2 players with 100 HP each, against a player that has 3000 HP, moves at the speed of the light, and can one-shot other players. Like, the humans are literally powerless against an SCP unless they play perfectly or if there's 20 of them and they all have guns. But yeah, apparently SCP SL is very balanced now, which has turned it into a terrible competitive game. Okay pal, do you even know the definition of a competitive game? Like, how is SCP SL competitive? Every round it's different. Somebody gets a shit sword like the Class D and somebody spawns with a full military kit. Competitive games are fair and have rules. SCP SL has neither of those. Not to mention how the game doesn't reward you anything. Like, it doesn't matter if you died right away or got 20 kills, it changes nothing. There is no leaderboards and there's also no shopper or credit system. You can still very much fuck around and do nothing, and you won't be vote kicked by your team because you're trash at the game. The only reason I can think of which caused you or many others to think that SCP SL is now a competitive game is because people make juking compilations and so on. That's literally a consequence of the game getting more popular. Many, and I mean many, comments are saying how back in old SL it was much more fun. Nobody cared and everybody just goofed around and so on. But that's not because of the game's design. The current SCP SL has 100 times more goofing around potential than old SCP SL. Everything from candies to messing around with 99's Mimicry menu or hell, even playing Russian roulette. The game's population used to be much smaller back in the day, which automatically meant a smaller chance to encounter tryhards or toxic people, and the game was lucky enough to at the time be filled with many great funny people. In fact, the only reason I got addicted to this game is because I like to play on this one community server every day, and I'm still in contact with many of the people I have met on these servers. But as the game becomes more and more popular, of course there's gonna be now hundreds of servers that are populated by annoying kids, and of course that eventually some of the thousands of players will start to tryhard the game because they don't touch grass. If you played Fortnite or Minecraft, you can see the exact same problem in the community as in SCP SL. In the beginning everybody was a noob and fucked around, but with the game's popularity, turbo building and Skywars PvP became the main thing. And this is the main issue. I find it so crazy that people think that old SL was less tryhard friendly or more fun / horror oriented, whilst it really wasn't. There was way less goofy potential, tryharding was much easier, and the horror elements were really basic. And this complete nostalgia delusion is the main reason I made this video and added a sprinkle of rage bait on the title, which well worked considering how many people were mindlessly shitting on the modern SL and glazing old SCP SL. The solution for a fun experience, no matter if you're in the old version of SCP SL or in the new one, will be to play with the right players. Back then it was easier as the game's population was smaller and more chill, but you can still very much have a good experience if you play on the right servers. Now I can't really recommend any as I haven't played on any servers but mine in a while, but these servers are usually a much smaller community and not one with like 10,000 members. So yeah, SCP SL is neither unbalanced or a competitive game, and the problems of tryharding are because of the rise of the game's popularity. Like what, you think when Arthur dropped Refracted Reality, some tryhard sounded an alarm and was like, "Yup, come on boys, it's time to tryhard SCP SL! Hoorah! Hoorah! Hoorah!" Next we have a comment that's really similar to what I just talked about. Had to leave due to all of the 1984 as Quest servers plugging the game. The game itself is amazing, I love where North took it, the servers and how strict they are for no reason ruin the whole fun nature of SL. Now I really have no clue what this guy is talking about. You can do basically anything in any server unless they have really specific rules about no KOS. I assume this guy got banned in a community server after saying the N-word 100 times, but even with this there's a bunch of servers who just straight up don't care if you say that or just have zero moderation. So yeah, this comment can get the fuck out of here. Okay, now this one is great. They miss a SCP game, not a Call of Duty version of SCP. Are we seriously dead ass comparing SCP SL to Call of Duty? This one has to be a joke, guys, come on, like, please. The only thing SCP SL and Call of Duty have in common is guns. And for your information, guns and attachments were in the game since basically the very beginning. Now I really don't wanna spend a few minutes detailing explaining how Call of Duty is no way similar to SCP SL, so I'm just gonna play like 10 seconds of Call of Duty gameplay and 10 seconds of SCP SL gameplay and let you compare the games. Run! Run!
Go!
No! No! No!
Park! Oh! No, it's Melon!
No!
The door!
No! No! I assume this comment was another very intellectual person who for some reason thinks that upgrading the guns from Roblox graphics to sexy inspectable guns makes the game magically attract tryhards, so yeah. If you wanna play a SCP game with a shitty combat system, then go play Roblox or hell, even SCP Containment Breach multiplayer. Wait, this is actually a great idea. Why don't all of the people unsatisfied with the current SCP SL go play SCP Containment Breach multiplayer? Like what, the game has darker lightning, a cancerously designed heavy containment, it has bootleg player models that are hard to tell apart, and even new unique playable SCPs. I think we should deport all of the people who are hating on modern SL to SCP Containment Breach multiplayer. It literally has all of the things they're asking for. Surely the game isn't complete dogshit even with these godly mechanics and models. I definitely prefer the old chaos and empty of skins. The new ones are kind of weird, especially considering the situation. People aren't saying they want old textures and the facility, but the fact SCPs are weaker and armed players spawn more frequently, making playing as human much easier. In old SL you ran into an SCP and died. Then you had to wait a decently long time to get to play again, making the death feel like it mattered. Now you can run into a bad SCP, make bad plays and still live. Then even if you die, you'll be in the mini wave in like a minute or two or just in the next spawn wave. Now this comment is also pretty funny. If your preference is older models, then sure, that's fair. I also hold a liking to them, but I definitely prefer the new ones. Like the chaos drip is just unmatched and making the scientist an old ass man is pretty funny. Anyways, what I'm getting from this comment is that nowadays that is not really meaningful as you can respawn really fast, and I find it extremely hilarious that amongst all of these comments there is even somebody complaining about the respawn system, which was literally reworked because it was the most complained about thing ever. I swear on my shit, I remember really well that people hated being gunned down by a guard or getting rolled by the 096 and then being forced to sit in spectator for 5 minutes, or hell, even more. There's even this thread that asks what do people do whilst waiting to respawn, and people lived fucking separate lives by the time they respawned. And fine, Northwood listen, this change went through many betas, many community feedbacks, and when they finally added mini waves that spawn if one team gets or doesn't get enough tickets, guess what? There's motherfuckers complaining even about this. It's not Northwood Studios employees that play the game every day and get stuck in spectator, it's you guys. They added it because everybody kept asking for faster and better respawns. I'm genuinely convinced that if you put this community into Old SL promo monthly, they will complain about so many things, and then Northwood will fix it eventually through revoked SCPs, quality of life features, and so on. Only for people to complain about the stuff they changed, even though the community begged them to change that thing. At this point, I think this community is just one big paradox and that never will every player be satisfied. But the problem is that people who don't realize this and just complain endlessly are equally as bad and toxic as the large annoying audience that found this game due to its popularity. So yeah, fuck you all, I'm done reading these actually mind-damaging comments. I'll go back to cracking 99 and munching pink candy, and if you don't like modern SL, then you can go play SCP Containment Breach multiplayer. I heard they could, you know, use an active player base, so yeah. Also, I'm not saying people aren't allowed to express their opinions or what they dislike about the game. We aren't in communist China and I'm sure Northwood appreciates the feedback. This video was dedicated to these dumb comments, aka people who just hate on new things in the game without keeping in mind everything I just explained in this video. Anyways, that's all bit for this yapping session. Make sure to subscribe and to check out what the best SCP games of 2024 are, or what's the best SCP in SCP SL. Shout out to my Patreons and channel members, thank you all for watching and I'll see you next time.